World, at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 396, The Reputation of the Night Province Ancestors Plummets Again. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. In the night mist, the experts within Earth City transitioned from initial astonishment to utter bewilderment. Everyone was dumbfounded. Did those old geezers even realize what they were doing? In the snowy wilderness, the dog-sword immortal lay in wait, his eyes fixed in a daze as he muttered, "This efficiency. It's unbelievable." Earlier, he had witnessed the founding ancestors of Night Prefecture engaged in a massive construction project, working tirelessly for weeks. He had assumed that such a cave would be incredibly difficult to excavate. Yet, the moment it provided the coordinates, the old geezers studied them earnestly and breached the cave on the very same day. What astonishing speed! Could it be that they had merely been going through the motions and slacking off all this time? When truly needed, they could achieve perfection in a single step. Doggy's expression shifted as he stroked his verdant bamboo sword, maintaining a wary stance toward that, steaming hot, and freshly minted, heavenly immortal cave. Then, he turned his gaze toward Earth City. The place was bustling with activity today, as several Earth immortals from beyond the realm had arrived in unison to pay a visit to the natives of Yejo. Moreover, heavenly beings had been alerted, descending from the 9 heavens on auspicious clouds to grace Earth City with their presence. In a flash of insight, the dog-sword immortal realized that Night Prefecture's founding ancestors had deliberately chosen this moment and location. The dark and sinister old men had intentionally opened the gate at this precise time. Within the Earth City, the emotions of the high-ranking officials surged and roiled with overwhelming intensity. They had just speculated that the 8 bell chimes might signal the intervention of a dying heavenly immortal, helping Liang's blazing sun cover his tracks. And in the blink of an eye, this speculation was confirmed. In truth, Earth immortals like Mu Qing had no desire to verify the existence of a heavenly immortal. They preferred not to provoke such a dying entity. Yet Night Prefecture's founding ancestors had forced their hand, unearthing this terrifying monster for them. The Earth City's leaders were inwardly seething. If not for their dignity and status, they would have erupted in curses long ago. Have those old fools gone mad? Meddling again and committing such an outrage against gods and mortals. The visiting Earth immortals from distant lands tensed, visibly shaken. They had never imagined encountering such a situation. What an improbable coincidence. Unsurprisingly, their opinion of Night Prefecture's founding ancestors had soured considerably. That suffocating stench of decay is overwhelming. Their bodies are crumbling, their cultivation has plummeted, and their strength is severely diminished. They're no match for us, and, moreover, they are on the verge of death. That's right, there's no need for fear. Within the Jade Capital's radiation zone, there are no true heavenly gods or heavenly immortals left. At most, they've reached the perfection realm of Earth immortals. In Earth City, the high-ranking members exchanged urgent messages. Beneath the night mist, the snow-covered landscape stretched out, and the cave before the fire spring was vast and shallow, allowing a clear view of the opposite side. Unlike the tunnels the Night Prefecture's founding ancestors had previously excavated, this time they had opened a massive gate. Beyond the gate lay a world of crystalline lakes, their surfaces rippling with gentle waves. Thriving immortal lotus swayed gracefully, scattering radiant immortal light, while white dragons swam beneath the water's surface. Deep within the sacred lake, on a tranquil island shrouded in white mist, Tao resonance permeated the air. 2 hazy figures sat cross-legged on Tao platforms, their forms decaying and frail, yet radiating an awe-inspiring presence. They were 2 ancient elders, their lives flickering like candles about to be extinguished. Without a doubt, they had once been true high-ranking deities, heavenly gods. But now, both faced critical crises. The sudden opening of the gate startled them, causing their clouded eyes to snap open. Both felt utterly bewildered. These newcomers had somehow managed to open a blind box and stumble upon them. Heaven be praised. We've found our founding ancestors. The Night Prefecture ancestors shouted in unison. On the other side of the gate stood 2 ancient, frail figures, their bodies ravaged by decay. Their faces remained impassive, though inwardly they were deeply unsettled. Seeing the Earth City, they had assumed they were being targeted by the Jade Capital. Shock and suspicion gripped their hearts. They even considered fleeing, fearing the Jade Capital had locked onto them. The 2 knew their own condition well. Once heavenly gods, they had long since declined from their former glory. In their twilight years, they were no stronger than Earth immortals. They couldn't understand why this group of newcomers was so excited, acting as if they were about to pay homage to them. Suppressing their agitation, the two remained silent, observing the situation unfold. Are you truly Ancestor Yuheng and Ancestor Mayuan? Someone from the Night Prefecture called out, invoking the former titles of the two decaying heavenly gods. Furthermore, among the ancestors from the Night Prefecture side, one stepped up to the portal and immediately took action, reaching in to pluck the rare celestial lotuses from the lake. Founding ancestors, he continued, the Dao lineage you left behind has fallen into decline by our generation. Despite our desperate efforts, none of us has achieved the seven convergence realm. We only stumbled upon this place while poring over the ancient texts you left behind. Yuheng and Mo Yuan exchanged suspicious glances. What was going on? Had their Dao lineage truly survived unbroken to this day? Were these their descendants? Even they themselves hadn't been in the seven convergence realm in their youth. It was only after ascending to the heavens that they encountered unique opportunities, ultimately becoming heavenly gods. Their faces twitched. These newcomers were remarkably bold, brazenly plundering the rare immortal lotus pods right before their eyes. Who else would dare such audacity in this sacred place? Though the immortal lotus held little value for them now, it remained a peerless precious medicine in the mortal realm. In fact, in Earth City, the eyes of the assembled cultivators burned crimson with envy. These were immortal lotus cultivated by heavenly gods, their golden pods brimming with ripe seeds. Whether aspiring to become a seven convergence realm or an earth immortal, both paths were fraught with peril, requiring the aid of various precious medicines. The golden lotus pod served as a crucial ingredient in crafting a great medicine capable of breaking through cultivation bottlenecks. May we take some dragon blood to save our comrades? The founding ancestor of Night Prefecture asked with feigned humility, adopting a posture of utmost deference while acting with audacious boldness. They targeted the white creature in the lake, successfully extracting dragon blood from a white flood dragon that had consumed numerous golden lotus pods. Yuheng and Mo Yuan remained expressionless, their minds in turmoil. These newcomers were truly audacious, paying lip service to respect while recklessly harvesting medicinal herbs. The two ancestors began to doubt their own judgment. Had they misread the situation, or had these people gone mad? Ahu! The white flood dragon roared in fury, its voice shaking heaven and earth. The two decaying heavenly gods darkened their faces and bellowed, insolence. They had reached the limit of their patience, never had they encountered people so seemingly schizophrenic, their words and deeds were completely at odds. The founding ancestors of Night Prefecture immediately offered a respectful apology and retreated. And retreated further still. Shortly thereafter, they entered Earth City. Even the dog sword immortal was left dumbfounded. He had brought Lu Mo's black and white mountain and rivers map, having promised to unleash this devastating weapon if necessary. But he hadn't needed to use it at all. The founding ancestors of Night Prefecture hadn't crossed the heavenly god's red line, knowing when to quit while ahead. Senior Mu, esteemed envoy, the founding ancestor of Night Prefecture secretly transmitted to Mu Qing and the Sky City envoy, we've come to claim the bounty. The two divine beings behind that gate are number 7 and number 8 on Jade Capital's wanted list. This confidential intelligence had been provided by the dog sword immortal and was considered reliable. What? The envoy exclaimed in shock. The two decaying heavenly gods were actually the criminals who had been wanted all those years ago. In truth, they harbored a deep fear of the heavenly gods and had no desire to pursue them. However, the founding ancestor of Night Prefecture had already reported them, and failure to act would bring severe consequences. Long ago, when some beings escaped Jade Capital, the authorities turned a blind eye, refraining from pursuit. This was especially true in recent centuries, as the prevailing circumstances meant that Earth immortals had reached their peak. Even those of legitimate lineage saw no point in hunting heavenly god or heavenly immortal level criminals, that would be courting death. But number 7 and number 8 were different. When they fled, they committed bloody crimes and stole the secret artifact, prompting explicit orders for their capture and return. The Earth City's leadership felt the founding ancestor of Night Prefecture's actions were somewhat stirring up trouble. Mu Qing, the envoy, and the others all sensed they would be forced to hunt these fugitives. If they had a choice, they would never provoke those two. Even with their lifespans dwindling and vitality fading, the pair had once been heavenly gods. Who knew what terrifying methods they might still possess? We must report this upward, Mu Qing murmured secretly. The matter couldn't be concealed. The old foxes of Night Prefecture had already exposed it, and they couldn't pretend nothing had happened. The envoy addressed the Earth immortals who had come from beyond the realm. Esteemed guests, these two committed a bloody crime in Jade Capital. We request your assistance in apprehending them. Rest assured, these wanted criminals possess only Earth immortal level cultivation, they are no longer heavenly gods. Mu Qing added, if you seek further advancement, you might find hope within these two. Upon hearing this, the Earth immortals' expressions immediately shifted. Meanwhile, the two decaying heavenly gods maintained a facade of composure. In truth, both sides harbored mutual apprehension, like two wolves wary of each other. Don't hesitate, the envoy declared. If their cultivation were truly profound, they would have crushed us long ago. As he spoke, he secretly ordered his subordinates to summon reinforcements from the heavens. An auspicious cloud shot skyward, tearing through the night mist as it ascended to the sky city above the 9 heavens. HMPH, Earth City, Sky City, Jade Capital. Long time no see, faded memories. One of the decaying heavenly gods remarked, sensing their opponent's impending move. No longer feigning composure, one of them slowly raised his hand and pressed it outward. A massive, dark green palm descended, threatening to shatter the entire Earth City. In fact, the thick clouds high above had been blasted apart, a testament to the sheer power of the strike. Damn it! At that moment, several Earth immortals from the eastern lands, West Sea, and other regions, despite their reluctance, joined forces with the envoy and Mu Qing, all acting in self-preservation. Profound immortal techniques bloomed, illuminating the Earth City with dazzling brilliance. Countless symbols, like stars scattered across the night sky, lit up the darkness as bright as day, their radiance expanding outward from the city. Simultaneously, immortal swords, golden palm imprints, phoenix seals, and other techniques erupted in unison, converging to strike the heavenly god's colossal hand. With a thunderous roar, the dark cyan hand shattered the storm clouds, but failed to obliterate the Earth City. The combined attack from the Earth immortals dimmed its power. I told you, they're no longer at their peak, the envoy declared, rallying morale. They're merely Earth gods now. Boom. The dark cyan hand retreated, shattering the gate with a final strike, destroying the passage. Whether it was Mu Qing, the two envoys, or the Earth immortals hailing from beyond this realm, all breathed a collective sigh of relief. Now that a legitimate excuse had presented itself, who among them would willingly choose to risk their lives in a desperate battle? An Earth immortal spoke up, there's no other choice. The passage has been destroyed and cannot be reopened in the short term. We'll wait for reinforcements before making a decision. The founding ancestors of Night Prefecture revealed, actually, there's another path that can be opened at any time. We dug 2 gates in total. At this moment, Mu Qing and the others' faces darkened. Are these old geezers out of their minds? The envoy, his expression unchanging, said, then. Please open it. Strict orders from above demanded the pursuit and elimination of numbers 7 and 8. The secret artifact they had taken was too extraordinary and needed to be recovered. The Earth immortals regretted coming to Night Prefecture, their faces grim. Unsurprisingly, the founding ancestors of Night Prefecture's reputation plummeted further. Even Mu Qing, who was born in Night Prefecture, felt a surge of intense emotion. If she traced her lineage carefully, she might even find descendants here, people who should be considered her own. Yet she wanted to slap them all. However, she knew these old geezers of Night Prefecture had their own strength and weren't to be trifled with. They possessed a forbidden artifact, the heaven-stabilizing divine pillar, capable of killing even Earth immortals. The founding ancestors of Night Prefecture swiftly opened the second gate. The envoy took a deep breath and declared, pursue. It's just an Earth god. Capturing it would be a monumental achievement, bringing us unimaginable wealth. Rumble. A tremendous commotion erupted from deep within the gate, signaling that battle had commenced. The two decaying heavenly gods hadn't completely retreated yet. Moments later, a beam of light pierced the pitch-black sky, piercing through the clouds and striking the Earth City. Reinforcements had arrived, crossing the gate to hunt down the fugitives. In the distance, the dog-sword immortal muttered to himself, it seems there truly are no heavenly immortals in this era. The highest ranking among these Sky City invaders is only at the Great Perfection Earth immortal stage. Then, his eyes widened as he noticed the old geezers from Night Prefecture quietly reopening another gate and slipping through. You guys are such dogs. The dog-sword immortal remarked. Inside the Earth City, the crowd exchanged bewildered glances. A Grand Master from Night Prefecture explained, the founding ancestors are flanking their rear. Don't worry. Some inwardly scoffed, yeah, right. At the Earth Immortal's breached gate, the dog-sword immortal peeked cautiously, observing the battlefield. He realized the combatants had already moved far away. Everyone has two sides to them, even dogs. At that moment, the dog-sword immortal's gaze deepened as he stared into the gate's depths. Its primary mission was to deliver a message to Knight Prefecture's founding ancestors, conveying coordinates. Now, it was an observer, unusually solemn, scrutinizing and assessing the strength of the celestial beings above. It seems the Jade Capital hasn't truly awakened. It hasn't unleashed its true calamity light to smite enemies, and the Dao chain remains dormant. Old Lu won't have to move anytime soon. Perhaps he can weather this. Its main objective on this trip was to gauge the heavenly realm's reaction. 2 decaying heavenly gods had been unearthed, and even after using them as bait, the terrifying Jade Capital remained silent. The dog-sword immortal vanished into the snow, daring not to cross the gate, fearing the old geezers might have rigged it. Earth City was in chaos, its people unable to find peace, torn between excitement and unease. In this era, the fact that decaying heavenly gods still existed within the Jade Capital's sphere of influence was truly terrifying, leaving them deeply shaken. At Black White Mountain, Lumo snapped abruptly out of his dazed stupor, his aged eyes clearing instantly. Standing beneath the black and white tree, he shot to his feet. 2 terrifying beams of divine light blazed from his eyes, piercing directly into the night sky and rending the very firmament. At that moment, the speaking sparrow and red squirrel perched on the black and white twin trees nearly wet themselves in terror. With a whoosh, Lumo soared straight into the 9 heavens. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 397, The Lost Treasure of Jade Capital. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. High above Twin Tree Village, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled as, astonishingly, clouds of pure black and white materialized. Lumo soared skyward, his previous decrepit frailty vanished, and his eyes blazed like 2 miniature suns. The heavy layers of cloud roiled in response to his presence, spinning violently to form a colossal taiji diagram. In the night sky, a crimson phantom emerged, hurtling toward him at breakneck speed. It was the blood kite, a creature that had been prowling the vicinity for 500 years. With a resounding clang, a battle spear, rusted and etched with divine runes, abruptly materialized within the sharply defined black and white clouds, landing firmly in Lumo's grasp. Next, pristine white bones flew forth, one by one, each piece resembling jade. They rapidly shrank, coalescing into a string of luminous bone beads. Clad in leather and adorned with bone, Lumo radiated an aura of terrifying power. With a thunderous roar, the colossal taiji diagram exploded, as if countless bolts of lightning had pierced the heavens. He vanished from the spot, instantly teleporting away. Deep within the celestial dome, the gale winds raged with increasing ferocity, capable of scattering even the consciousness' spiritual light. In the most perilous regions of the 9 heavens, these specialized gale winds could extinguish pure yang consciousness itself. Lumo traveled in utter silence, leaving no trace as he searched for the Sky City. A city suspended high above the 9 heavens must naturally be connected to a grotto heaven. Finally, Lumo caught sight of the Golden Gate. The place was utterly decayed and dilapidated, barely a remnant of a grotto heaven. Surrounding it, the world was pitch black, resembling a desolate wasteland steeped in deathly silence. Lumo's eyes, deep and penetrating, fixed on the grotto heaven shrouded in night mist. No wonder you lot have remained, detached from worldly strife, all these years, he mused. What exactly did you have left to fight with? Your strength no longer permitted it, with your battlefronts withdrawn, this amounts to a voluntary retreat from the world. The fractured entrance to the Golden Palace glowed faintly, its damage severe. The so-called heavenly beings had been alarmed by the emergence of number 7 and number 8. Earth immortals had been roused to hunt down the 2 fugitives wanted by the Jade Capital. And at this very moment, old Lu arrived. Unnoticed and unperceived, 500 years have slipped by, he mused. It seems some cataclysmic event has shaken the heavens and earth. Even the grotto heavens are in ruins, half destroyed. No wonder this era is devoid of heavenly gods and heavenly immortals. The absolute pinnacle of power here reaches no higher than the rank of Earth Immortal. Witnessing this scene, even Lumo felt a tremor of shock ripple through his heart. A silent upheaval had been brewing and erupting, yet its tremors never reached the mortal realm. Lumo ascended to the city situated high above the 9 heavens. His movements were utterly traceless and ethereal. Within his grasp, wisps of black and white energy materialized, coalescing into a brush, the brush of yin and yang, with which he intended to surreptitiously sever certain. Consider yourselves lucky, you young lads. Before him lay a stone book, colossal as a mountain, its pages inscribed with names. They were already severed. Lumo murmured in astonishment. He suddenly vanished, sensing the arrival of another presence, likely an outsider as well. Could there be others on this path? Lumo retreated into the shadows to observe. Deep within his eyes, the cosmos shifted, and Tao resonance cascaded like a waterfall. Jian. Even old Lu's heart jolted. These creatures were invisible to ordinary eyes, yet now a Jian of extraordinary power, far surpassing its kin, had appeared above the 9 heavens. Good. You can serve as a distraction. Lead the way, and I'll remain hidden. Lumo sought to sever his past and achieve complete rebirth, a task made exceedingly difficult by the pervasive influence of the Jade Capital. He was making his final preparations. His dispatching of the dog sword immortal was merely a feint, a diversion to strike elsewhere. Lumo had come here to probe the truth, test the pressure, and ensure that he wouldn't fall into a complete stupor during his vulnerable period while awaiting revival, preventing any real disaster from occurring. The remaining light of true tribulation in the heavens is dwindling, its remaining reserves are limited. In the 5 centuries I have been away, I have missed a truly terrifying and momentous event. He gradually confirmed that within the Jade Capital's sphere of influence, there were indeed no heavenly gods or heavenly immortals left. Down on the ground, the night stretched out endlessly. Auspicious clouds streaked across the sky, carrying powerful cultivators through the gate. Acting on the will of the Jade Capital, they pursued 2 high-profile fugitives. Yu Heng turned back and sighed. Truly, a tiger fallen into the plains is mocked even by dogs, now even you little whelps dare to set yourselves against us. He radiated an aura of decay. If he could still wield the power of a heavenly god, these pursuers wouldn't have dared to chase him, they would have been annihilated long ago. Mo Yuan spoke up. Actually, there is another, big fish, one lying dormant amidst the mortal world, whom you might do well to investigate. He sought to drag Lumo into the fray, thereby diverting the attention of the celestial powers toward him. The others are irrelevant. An earth immortal interrupted. Are you kidding me? 2 decaying heavenly gods whose realms had collapsed were already a massive headache. They had no desire to complicate matters further. Did they really think they wanted to investigate these old cases? One wrong move, and they'd be dragged down with them. Yu Heng unleashed a blinding array of runes, shattering the pitch-black clouds. He's even more influential than us. Hearing this, Mu Qing and the others grew even more reluctant to get involved. There was no need to complicate matters further. Gentlemen, your past crimes are ultimately insignificant. An envoy declared. Boom. Orderly thunder roared across the heavens and earth-like surging rivers and seas, bathing the world in blinding light. The 2 sides exchanged words and blows simultaneously. Yu Heng and Mo Yuan both froze at the words. An earth immortal spoke solemnly, hand over the secret artifact from the past. Your past crimes will be mitigated, and you will be punished leniently. What on earth are you talking about? The 2 decaying heavenly gods stared blankly, clearly confused. They had indeed shed blood in the past, but what was this secret artifact? First, they were bewildered, then they frowned. Could there be some misunderstanding? Don't you know what you took from the Jade Capital? An envoy asked sternly. No way. Yu Heng's face drained of color. Years ago, chaos had erupted in the Jade Capital. Lumo seized the opportunity to flee, and they followed, successfully escaping in the confusion. Under such circumstances, how could they have had the audacity to steal treasures? As they racked their memories, their eyes widened. Had they inadvertently pocketed priceless artifacts? But they hadn't given it a second thought, discarding what they deemed useless. Had they missed something crucial? Yu Heng's breathing grew heavy as he demanded urgently, what exactly was lost from the Jade Capital? Don't you know what you looted yourself? An elderly earth immortal replied. A scrap of cloth and a stone. In truth, they had no idea what purpose these secret artifacts served. However, the higher authorities had ordered their retrieval, and these were the only 2 items they were instructed to recover. Did I just brush past a priceless treasure from the Jade Capital? Mo Yuan felt a suffocating weight in his chest. What kind of opportunity had they missed all those years ago? Back then, when chaos erupted in the Jade Capital, a corner of the Jade Temple crumbled, sending mountain rocks tumbling from the clouds. As they fled, they casually caught 2 falling objects, barely giving them a second thought. During their ambush of Lu Mo, they hurled the stone at the back of his head. But even before it struck, the rock dimmed, its spiritual energy fading, and it shattered into pieces. Was there something inside the stone? Could Lu Mo have taken it? The two decaying heavenly gods revealed their regret. It was clearly a priceless treasure, blasted beyond the Jade Capital, yet they had mistaken it for a mere foundation stone of the Jade Temple, casually caught it, and then hurled it at someone. Heavenly artifacts often conceal themselves, one envoy said, his eyes gleaming. Perhaps. It fell into the Kunling realm. He temporarily believed their account. We'll investigate thoroughly. Mu Qing declared. Even if we have to turn the entire Kunling realm upside down, we'll search for it. The Earth Immortals from outside Night Prefecture exchanged excited glances. Could it be true that such a heavenly artifact had been lost near Kunling long ago and remained unclaimed to this day? What about the cloth? An elder Earth Immortal asked. We threw it away. Yu Heng replied, his voice thick with frustration and regret. When he had grabbed the falling cloth, he immediately recognized it was woven from multiple strands of strange metal, realizing its extraordinary nature. Though he had taken it, he later grew fearful, suspecting it might be the battle armor of some great figure. Afraid of being traced, he abandoned it along the way. He muttered, I sense it was drawn away by a small, dilapidated altar on the Kunling Plateau. Though his heart ached, he believed that if he could reveal the truth and escape the Jade Capital's pursuit, losing such a treasure would be a worthwhile price. In this realm, countless forgotten paths once led to the Jade Capital, now mostly overgrown and desolate. Two Earth Immortals from the heavens, their hearts racing with anticipation, immediately set out along these abandoned secret routes, hoping to claim a significant reward this day. However, moments later, they returned with grim faces, finding no trace of the so-called heavenly artifact. You're lying. Seize them. The Earth Immortals moved to capture the two former heavenly gods, enraging Yu Heng and Mo Yuan. To have their supposed truth met with such hostility by these juniors was utterly infuriating. The pitch-black clouds overhead ignited, turning night into day. Divine rainbows pierced the sky, a cyan black hand blotted out the heavens, and exotic treasures danced through the air. The region transformed into a terrifying spectacle. Energy runes, vast as the starry sea, blanketed the cosmos, creating a terrifying scene that threatened to annihilate all creation. If the battle between Earth Immortals is already this terrifying, what must the era when heavenly gods and heavenly immortals roamed the world have been like? In Earth City, some daring individuals crossed the gate and observed the battle from across the vast night sky. In truth, some hoped to take advantage of the chaos, sneaking into the heavenly god's Taoist temple to scavenge divine artifacts and seek creation. However, they stared in disbelief. In the immortal lake, where golden ripples once shimmered, not a single golden lotus pod remained, not even a lotus leaf. The very roots of the lotus plants had been stripped bare. Even the fish fry in the lake had vanished without a trace. They realized the truth. The founding ancestors of Night Prefecture's so-called flanking maneuver wasn't about ambushing the two old monsters, but about raiding the heavenly god's backyard. This all stemmed from the fact that Night Prefecture had a considerable number of founding ancestors, yet its current resources were scarce. Their expansion efforts had reached a bottleneck due to resource shortages, fostering a culture of frugality and simple virtues among the people. The battle between the Earth Immortals was terrifying beyond measure, sending shivers down the spines of even distant grandmasters. Each casual strike carried the power to annihilate cities and slaughter entire clans, truly awe-inspiring. One Earth Immortal was gravely wounded, his blood splattering across the night sky. Since you remain stubbornly defiant, insisting on defying the will of the Jade Capital, we have no choice but to unleash our ultimate weapons. An aged Earth Immortal declared. Instantly, exotic treasures materialized in their hands, each radiating a divine, luminous aura. Mu Qing held a scroll depicting the Jade Capital, its image hazy yet sacred, emanating a terrifying pressure. Another wielded a miniature Jade Capital city, carved from divine jade and held in his palm. It erupted with countless rays of light, illuminating the night mist world like a second sun. Boom. As these treasures connected to the Jade Capital were activated, they drew down beams of destructive energy from the nine heavens. Terrifying Tao chains shot forth, descending upon the two decaying old monsters. What is happening? The light of the killing tribulation is far too intense. The chains of the Tao have spiraled out of control. From the ninth heaven, the reserves, stored within the Golden Palace. They are all pouring down at once. The Earth immortals descending from the heavens shouted out in alarm, not fearing the power's weakness but its overwhelming force and catastrophic consumption. This single battle threatened to exhaust their entire accumulated reserves. Ah! Yu Heng screamed in agony. No longer a true heavenly god, he was pierced by the radiant Tao chains, his entire body engulfed in flames. Instantly, he transformed into a human skin, his blood boiling as it was rapidly incinerated, leaving him beyond salvation, destined for utter annihilation. Mo Yuan fared no better. Enveloped in the light of true tribulation, his true form gradually emerged, an ancient skeleton radiating the decaying aura of corrupted heavenly gods, bones that had long lost their spiritual essence. The skeletal frame fractured, shattered, and crumbled into oblivion. The Earth immortals watched in horror, powerless to halt the inexhaustible Tao chains pouring down from the nine heavens. Only complete consumption would bring an end to this relentless attack. They could only witness the destruction of the two old monsters, leaving no survivors. They might not be their true bodies. Could they be reborn into entirely new lives, free from the influence of Jade Capital? Like withered vines sprouting new roots or dying trees budding anew, perhaps they haven't truly perished but are merely awaiting rebirth. Still, I sense something deeply amiss. If they could truly break free from the past, why would they leave so much power behind in their old bodies? Nearby, the night sky had been cleansed, the light of true tribulation slowly dissipating. Yet lingering Tao resonance still illuminated the heavens, banishing all traces of black mist. On the ground, entire mountain ranges lay shattered, a scene of utter devastation. The entire region had been leveled. The sudden, cataclysmic battle had reached its conclusion. Mu Qing and the others wore grim expressions as the Earth immortals from the heavens hastily departed, eager to investigate the chaos erupting within the Golden Palace. 2 days later, the turmoil gradually subsided. In the nine heavens, the Earth immortals ceased their descents, suggesting some incident had occurred there. However, many youths and some young adults were sent down to the mortal realm. An elder addressed them, "In this era of rising geniuses and glittering stars, everything is just beginning. The path ahead remains uncertain. Perhaps a new Liang, blazing sun, will emerge among you." But wasn't it said that the blazing sun of this current era might have already been born down here, on the surface? Someone asked. The elder replied, "That's precisely why you've been sent here to hone your skills. Interact with the people of the mortal realm, learn from each other, and elevate yourselves." He added, "Moreover, the notion that the heavens can only have one sun is false. In the distant past, there were even miraculous scenes of 10 suns blazing across the sky. You want us to seek guidance from the blazing sun, down here on the surface." It was patently obvious that these youths were consumed by arrogance, and they had arrived bearing a palpable sense of disdain. In their minds, a Liang, blazing sun, could only be born in the heavens. Now they were being sent to the mortal realm for training, a descent into a lower dimension, forced to consult with mere mortals, a true fall from grace into the dust. Although many of them harbored resentment, they nonetheless obeyed the arrangements made for them. With Sky City facing unforeseen circumstances, they had no choice but to seek guidance from the mortal realm. Su Moran and Gao Chan were tasked with leading a group of youths to meet influential figures on the ground. "Aren't these founding ancestors of Night Prefecture being a bit arrogant?" one of the youths remarked, having learned about the events of 2 days prior. "They show such disrespect to the Earth immortals in the heavens." Someone immediately retorted, "All words and deeds are ultimately predicated upon strength." The group turned to see that the speaker was a blonde-haired youth, his tone surprisingly aggressive. Qinming and Xiaowu glanced across the way and saw a group of young boys and girls, none older than 16. Su Moran stepped forward. "Brother Qin, Brother Shang, Brother Wu, apologies for the interruption." She briefly explained their purpose. Clearly, she held Qin Ming, Shang Yiwu, and the others in high regard, hoping they could mentor these youths. She even secretly transmitted a message, urging them not to hold back on discipline. "Consider it done." Wu Yaozu nodded. "Are all the people on the surface this arrogant?" one of the youths from the heavens sneered. This group of adolescents, ranging from 13 to 16, bristled with defiance. They saw the adults before them as little more than slightly older ground natives. What could they possibly teach us? What a joke. They were dressed impeccably, their bearing refined, and their identities clearly extraordinary. Su Moran transmitted telepathically, "This is paid instruction. You can discipline these youths as you see fit." "These children certainly need some discipline," Wu Yaozu remarked. A young woman was glaring at him sideways, her eyes brimming with disdain and provocation. Who was Xiaowu to back down? He immediately retorted, having no desire to be a mere phoenix tail in the heavens. The 9 heavens seemed to have its own set of problems. Instantly, he had stirred up a hornet's nest. How dare you speak to us like that? The group of youths swarmed around him. Wu Yaozu turned to Su Moran. Can I discipline them however I see fit? Su Moran nodded, convinced these youths needed to learn some hard lessons. All right then, Wu Yaozu declared. Come forward and pay your respects. Call me, master. The youths erupted in outrage. How could someone barely older than them, a mere ground dweller, be so arrogant? Even more arrogant than they were. Someone immediately hurled disrespectful words at Xiao Wu, offering a hostile greeting. Wu Yaozu seized the most unruly youth by the collar, his voice menacing. If you've come seeking instruction, show the proper respect. If you can't call me, master, do you think I'm your father? I have no obligation to cater to you. Beside them, Gao Chan's face darkened instantly. These were his own family members. Let's see what you're made of. Several of them lunged forward. Qinming expanded his spiritual domain, suppressing them all and forcing them to bow their heads. Wu Yaozu declared, this is your master Qin. If you miss this chance to pay your respects, even calling him Father Quan later won't help. You'll regret it for the rest of your lives. Su Moran's expression darkened slightly. Her cousin was among them. Father Qin, would she have to address him as an elder now? We're peers, Qinming said calmly, withdrawing his spiritual domain. I can't really offer any meaningful guidance. The group retreated, but one young woman stepped forward, her attitude sincere. She actually wanted to become his disciple. I was just joking. Even Wu Yaozu was taken aback. He had only been annoyed by their earlier arrogance. Yet the girl remained resolute, her eyes shining with determination. Insisting on becoming Qinming's disciple, she caught everyone off guard. Su Moran's face stiffened. That was her cousin. The girl's companions were shocked. Are you crazy? He hasn't even reached the 4th realm yet. With your talent, you'll surpass him in a year or 2. Why become his disciple? Choosing him will guarantee your defeat against your rivals. They're seeking guidance from Yuan, Jin Pudi, Chun Yangxi, and others to hone their skills. You'll be the laughingstock. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 398, Mutual Fulfillment. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. In the pitch-black night, the dog sword immortal, wearing a conical hat and a straw raincoat, with a bamboo sword slung across his back, trudged through the snow back to Twin Tree Village. After wandering for 2 days, he had completed his mission with perfection. Beneath the black and white twin trees, old Lu braved the bitter cold, standing beside the gently glowing fire spring, gazing up at the dark, fathomless night sky. He murmured to himself, the Tao chain has lost control. Above the 9 heavens, the stockpile, in the Golden Palace. It's all been exhausted. Now, even if they sense something, they can't strike me down, can they? Master, are you all right? The dog sword immortal asked, having witnessed the entire battle. The envoys had looked as if they'd seen a ghost when the light of true tribulation poured down, unable to stop it. His eyes held a peculiar glint. So old Lu is a real dog, it thought. He openly ordered me to deliver a message, luring out 2 heavenly gods to be beaten, while he himself launched a major operation, striking at the heart of the yellow dragon. Did you make your move? He asked anxiously. Lu Mo shook his head. My physical condition has been terrible all along. I'm not fit for combat. Originally, I did intend to risk a severe depletion of my vital energy to intervene in the skies above, but then I discovered something else. I restrained my impulse and simply rode the momentum. And now, are you about to begin? The dog sword immortal's expression turned grave. Life and death are matters of fate, Lu Mo sighed. He had done everything he could. Now, in this final gamble, he could only wait for the seed beneath the frozen earth to awaken, either to sprout anew or wither away. In Earth City, Qinming had never imagined that he would one day have a disciple. How old was he, after all? Just 2 years ago, in the winter, he had embarked on the path of awakening during his golden age. Now, barely 18, it seemed far too early to accept a disciple. Su Mohua, however, was remarkably stubborn. Having knelt down to pay her respects, she refused to rise. She herself was only about 15 years old, not much younger than Qinming. Nearby, among the group of youths, some looked astonished, others wore faint smiles, while a few sported strange expressions, tinged with schadenfreude. Only a few close to Su Mohua stepped forward to dissuade her, but she remained resolute, her face set with determination. Su Mohua, even in the heavens, was hailed as a prodigy, radiating an aura of brilliance. Her innate talent was undeniable, and aside from occasional bouts of youthful rebellion, her conduct was exemplary. Moreover, her features were as exquisite as a painting, her skin like ice, and her bones like jade, making her exceptionally beautiful and widely renowned. At this moment, even Su Moran felt a twinge of a headache. Once this cousin of hers set her mind on something, it was nearly impossible to sway her. This placed Su Moran in an awkward position. She had, quite inadvertently, found herself relegated to a generation below Qinming. Beside her, Yao Chan felt like he was witnessing a ghost. The girl was usually so intelligent and gifted, had she been possessed today. This also demoted him by a generation. Qinming found the situation absurd. He hadn't even agreed, yet he was being forcibly recognized as a master. The news spread like wildfire among the young cultivators from Sky City, eliciting a variety of reactions. Has Su Mohua gone mad? We're from Sky City. Our descent to the mortal realm is merely to temper ourselves. The natives are just sparring partners. Yet she actually took one as a master, how are the rest of us supposed to hold our heads high? Isn't this just a complete farce? By doing this, she brings shame upon all of us. She's gone completely astray, actually taking a mortal youth as her master. And I used to consider her a rival. The so-called true phoenix of the Su clan. She's finished. In just one evening, the incident caused a massive uproar among the young cultivators from Sky City. Unsurprisingly, the vast majority of these young men and women spoke of the matter with disdain. These ambitious prodigies, all vying for the sun and moon title, felt that Su Mohua had needlessly lowered their status. In their eyes, was this some kind of seeking wisdom from the common folk, or learning from others' strengths? No, it was self-degradation. Could she be doing this deliberately? Someone speculated. In the Golden Palace of Sky City, there's a special cultivation technique that uses the fires of the mortal world to temper one's spiritual nature. By remaining unmoved by worldly praise or shame, one cultivates pure yang consciousness and breaks through to the next realm. However, most shook their heads, believing such drastic measures were unnecessary. A small group of radical youths sought out Su Mohua that very night. Su Mohua tried to explain calmly, but her patience eventually snapped, and a heated argument erupted between them. Eventually, in the end, they came to blows. Had Qinming not stepped forward, followed by Shang Yuwu and Wu Yaozu, who forcibly intervened to separate the two sides, the conflict might well have escalated into a bloody incident. In that critical moment, Su Mohua cast aside her usual gentle and ethereal demeanor, displaying a formidable assertiveness. The fact that she was prepared to stand alone against such a group of young men and women was indeed a testament to her extraordinary capabilities. Why are you so determined to become my disciple? Qinming asked the young woman standing before him that night within his residence in the Earth City. If I were to say it was merely a whim, an instinctual impulse, you might not believe me, Su Mohua replied, appearing remarkably composed in that moment. She possessed a unique gift. Occasionally, her mind would stir with a sudden, profound resonance, a moment of spiritual clarity akin to a harmonious communion between soul and the heavens, that would guide her toward making pivotal decisions. Reflecting upon her past experiences, every major decision she had made throughout her life's journey, those instances where she had heeded this specific instinct, had invariably yielded immense rewards. Come here, Qinming beckoned, placing his hand on her head. He then furrowed his brow as he sensed a resonance, a fleeting glimpse into her inner world. To his surprise, this young woman indeed possessed the exceedingly rare gift of spiritual clarity, an ability that allowed her to foresee and navigate away from misfortune. Very well, Qinming nodded. He agreed to accept her, for the time being, as a nominal disciple. Whether she would eventually be formally inducted into the inner circle of his true disciples would depend entirely upon her future conduct. Su Mohua let out a long, relieved breath. Within her mind, a radiant light surged forth, enveloping her spiritual domain and flowing deep into the very fabric of her flesh and blood. In this moment of profound clarity, although she could perceive turbulent waves and daunting challenges looming ahead, she knew that, for now, the path she had chosen was undeniably the right one. It promised her immense benefit, and for the time being, she could afford to concern herself with nothing else. As night deepened, Qinming was startled when his new disciple brought him foot-washing water. At their level of cultivation, their bodies remained immaculate, untouched by dust. What need was there for such ablutions? This gesture was clearly meant to express her respect. There's no need for this, he waved dismissively. Wu Yaozu was green with envy. He had only made a casual remark, and Brother Ming had already gained a disciple as ethereal as an immortal. He wondered if he should also make a show of intent and recruit his own immortal disciple. What exactly is Su Mohua up to? The girl who had chosen to approach Chun Yangxi murmured to herself. Almost simultaneously, the young man closest to He Yuan also grew suspicious. He even approached He Yuan to inquire about Qin Ming's background. This group of top-tier geniuses, who aspired to sun and moon ambitions, couldn't understand Su Mohua's actions and held negative views toward her. Some mocked her in private, while others ridiculed her openly. Among them were Su Mohua's rivals, enemies, and even former close friends. That very night, some young powerhouses bypassed Su Mohua and directly challenged Qin Ming, undoubtedly instigated and manipulated by others. Su Mohua stepped forward to drive them away. Qin Ming waved her off, personally flicked his finger, and unleashed the primordial chaos force. Like a golden crow soaring across the sky, the force struck the young man, sending him flying backward, heavily wounded and covered in blood. 17 years old. You're not exactly a child anymore. The geniuses from Sky City aren't as impressive as I imagined, Qin Ming remarked before turning to leave. Hidden observers murmured in awe. Qin Ming's combat power in the third realm seems to have surpassed some kind of limit. He's truly formidable. The next day, Qin Ming discussed with Shang Yiwu and Xiao Wu his plan to leave Earth City and return to Kunling. Wu Yaozu refused to become a mere phoenix tail in Sky City. Moreover, recent disturbances in the heavens suggested it might not be a safe destination. Having experienced the five-colored steel incident and torn apart the Dao chain with the tattered cloth, Qin Ming harbored deep reservations about Sky City. The founding ancestors have moved into Earth City, Shang Yiwu reported with the latest news. Why? Qin Ming and Wu Yaozu, who had been preparing to leave, were both startled. These founding ancestors, known for their questionable reputations, never acted without purpose. Shang Yiwu, having obtained internal information from the Zerulai sect, explained, it's said that the light of true tribulation in the heavens inexplicably dissipated, and Earth City absorbed a small portion. The founding ancestors have come here to sense the lingering resonance, which will aid them in breaking through future bottlenecks. Then we'll stay for now. Wu Yaozu declared. If the founding ancestors are setting the example, we should follow suit. After all, those old geezers have been on a winning streak lately. Soon after, Qin Ming asked his registered disciple, we walk different paths, what is it you wish to learn from me? And what is the primary cultivation technique you practice? Master, aren't you cultivating both the immortal path and the path of awakening? Su Mohua asked. That is true enough, Qin Ming nodded, having nearly forgotten his own identity as a possessor of an immortal seed. Su Mohua hesitated. She had heard of the Chaos Force, and even Earth Immortal Mu Qing had personally met the little Tathagata and rigorously assessed it, concluding that this martial technique possessed unparalleled destructive power among its peers. However, the Chaos Force carried hidden risks in its later stages, making practitioners prone to self-destruction. Thus, as the thought arose, she suppressed it. For now, she would refrain from seeking instruction in this mysterious and terrifying primordial Chaos Force. I primarily cultivate the Nine Heavens Manual, Su Mohua said, revealing the immortal technique she practiced. Even within the Golden Palace of the Heavens, this true scripture was considered priceless. She further explained, the consciousness spiritual light can illuminate the nine heavens, planting a seed within the heart that takes root and sprouts. If one cultivates this scripture to the great perfection, they can attain the status of a heavenly immortal. Qin Ming paused, then said, beneath the mind lies an abyss, and deeper still lies hell itself. Should one fall into it, the outcome, whether auspicious or dire, is impossible to predict. Did Master ever obtain this true scripture? Su Mohua asked, surprised. Qin Ming confirmed that this was the scripture mind-seeding divine, which he had obtained from Qi Yunxiao. Hailed as one of the most powerful true scriptures in the eastern lands, few dared to practice it, as even a slight misstep could lead to ruin, plunging the cultivator into the abyss. Su Mohua added, it's also known as the Hell Scripture, and another name for it is the Abyss Codex. With that, she produced a scroll. This wasn't the Nine Heavens Manual itself, true scripture couldn't be taken from the Golden Palace, but rather a manual containing insights from past practitioners of the Nine Heavens Manual. She carried it with her, frequently studying and contemplating its contents. Qin Ming accepted the scroll without hesitation and began to read. He was soon deeply moved by what he found. The manual contained various legends, including one about a cultivator of this scripture who had been killed by an earth immortal. His skull had been shattered, and his pure yang consciousness spark had been burned away. Yet, years later, the arm that the sect's experts had desperately retrieved, far from decaying, began to revive. His conscious spiritual light has returned from hell, stronger than before. Qin Ming was astonished. This scripture was truly extraordinary. Even after being slain by an earth immortal, one could be resurrected. For that moment, the individual's life and death had even deceived beings of the seventh realm. He pored over the manual, studying it meticulously for hours. The vanished one has returned from hell. It's hard to say whether he's a god, an immortal, or a demon. Could he be the one who achieved nirvana? The manual's master had wondered. Driven by this question, Qin Ming resonated deeply with the manual, delving into its depths. His body trembled violently as the lingering emotions of the old masters who had studied this manual surged through him. However, with his cultivation now far stronger than before, resonating with the manual no longer threatened to shatter his skull. Finally, he slowly opened his eyes, resolving to practice the Nine Heavens Manual, also known as the Hell Scripture. In the past, he had shelved it, having many other scriptures to choose from. But after reading the manual, he realized its miraculous nature. It could save lives. Moreover, in Qin Ming's plans, it complemented his other scriptures, perhaps even enabling a grand nirvana. He cultivated the primordial chaos force, walked the path of awakening, and also integrated consciousness, spiritual light and divine wisdom. Ultimately, all would converge into a grand unity, perhaps requiring a profound transformation. Therefore, he needed to prepare the relevant extraordinary scriptures from the Silk Book in advance. This manual made Qin Ming realize the immense importance of the Nine Heavens Manual, which would become a crucial element in constructing his own cultivation system. Master, how do you feel? Su Mohua asked, her eyes filled with curiosity. Could her master have been overwhelmed by the manual's contents? This scripture was renowned throughout history. Many had achieved minor success, but few had truly mastered it, as it involved attaining the status of a heavenly immortal. Qin Ming replied, this scripture is excellent, profoundly profound. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Su Mohua's raven hair cascaded down her back, its glossy surface reflecting light like a mirror. Her fair, delicate face was etched with surprise. She wanted to say, Master, are you bluffing? During her moment of spiritual clarity, she had instinctively accepted him as her master, sensing great opportunities ahead. But she never truly expected him to guide her cultivation. Yet this, little master, exuded such confidence. Intrigued, she decided to test him. Biting her crimson lips, she began to ask questions. And then, she was left utterly astounded. Qin Ming's understanding of the Nine Heavens Manual far surpassed her wildest expectations. Even the most obscure questions, which had stumped her own elders, were answered by this young master. Having deeply contemplated the scripture herself and diligently verified his explanations, she realized Qin Ming wasn't just spouting nonsense, he was genuinely illuminating her path. She was dazed. Even the old monsters in the heavens struggled with these ambiguous questions, yet this young master, after careful consideration, could provide true solutions. Qin Ming had thoroughly studied the initial scriptures of the Nine Heavens Manual. Combined with his resonance with the manual and the wisdom of ancient sages, he naturally possessed unique insights. At this moment, Su Mohua felt profound respect for him. Gazing at his face, radiant with focused concentration, she was filled with awe, almost seeing him as a young heavenly immortal. Earlier, she had become his disciple out of instinct for self-preservation. Now, she was genuinely convinced and performed a formal bow with sincere reverence. In truth, Qin Ming felt they were mutually benefiting. His own gains were immense, the manual alone made taking her as a disciple worthwhile. Time flew by, and half a month passed in a blink. During this period, the founding ancestors of Night Prefecture prepared to reopen the tunnel, officially commencing the exploration of the unknown realm. When Earth Immortal Mu Qing heard the report, she was utterly dismayed. The old monsters in the city paled visibly. Digging a hole. This was practically digging the graves of a bunch of old men. Each time you make more noise than the last, she warned. One of these days, you'll dig up a wild heavenly god. Over the past half-month, Qin Ming had mastered the techniques from the Nine Heavens Manual. Concurrently, he had been venturing into the depths of his own consciousness, daring to explore the hell that lay beneath the abyss of his mind. Is something the matter? He noticed that Su Mohua wore a look of deep anxiety. She spoke softly. Half a month has passed. My first sparring match against some of my rivals is scheduled for tomorrow. Lately, she had been under immense pressure. Everyone was talking about her, some mocking, others secretly sneering, and still others coldly watching, waiting for her to make a fool of herself. These were all people she used to know, even her former best friends. If she lost badly in this battle, she dreaded the cruel things they would say. Upon hearing this, Qinming nodded and said, "Is that so? Since you are my disciple, it is only right that I help you improve. I have never once suffered a defeat in a battle against an opponent of the same realm, you certainly shouldn't fall short." Su Mohua didn't know her young master well enough. When she heard he was undefeated among his peers, her beautiful eyes widened in surprise. What arrogance this master possesses. The duel is tomorrow, with only one night left, is it really possible to improve? She found it genuinely hard to believe. Qinming nodded. Once you've improved, you'll be, at the very least, stronger than you are right now. Suddenly, he sensed something. Ever since he had planted a seed in the 9 heavens of his consciousness and ventured into hell, where he had cast down a divine seed, his psychic perception had become remarkably sharper. In fact, Qinming even wondered if, at this rate, he too might eventually experience a moment of absolute spiritual clarity. At this very moment, his intuition warned him of approaching danger. A threat he sensed was connected to that ape. Qinming's gaze turned ferocious. Su Mohua's duel was tomorrow, a clash of geniuses, yet tonight, a powerful opponent dared to launch a night raid against him. Are they trying to cripple both master and disciple? To many, this would be nothing more than entertainment. Someone from the heart-refining ape faction has appeared. Qinming marveled at their audacity. Attacking even within Earth City. They must be utterly fearless. Master, what's wrong? Su Mohua asked. Nothing. Just focus on your duel tomorrow. Make sure to sweep aside your rivals and those so-called friends, Qinming replied, slowly rising to his feet and gazing out the window at the night scene shrouded in swirling black mist. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 399, Drawing the Sword Needs No Words. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Night fell over Earth City. The fire spring glowed dimly, shrouded in swirling night mist. Qinming gazed out the window. He sensed ape Xuanhuan approaching, a palpable sense of danger prickling his skin and raising his hackles. It had been a long time since he'd felt this way, a peer who could truly threaten him. Master. Su Mohua called out, her voice tinged with anxiety. She had seen the young man by the window suddenly tense and vanish in a flash. With a whoosh, Qinming materialized in the courtyard, as if he had teleported. Mohua, he said calmly, move back a bit and watch quietly. In that instant, a sharp pain stabbed at Qinming's left temple, as if a razor-sharp blade were slicing through the night sky, aimed to pierce his skull. Sensing the attack in advance, he instinctively tracked the blade's subtle trajectory through the darkness. The eerie, cold glint of steel merged seamlessly with the night, transforming from solid to ethereal. It vanished from the world, becoming one with the chilling wind, like a normal gust of air approaching. The blade had completely ceased to exist. Qinming's heart pounded. Had he been at his spiritual domain mid-stage cultivation, he might have been in grave danger. Now, standing at the 7th level of the spiritual domain, nearing the late stages of the 3rd realm, his spiritual domain radiated outward like a tangible extension of his will, allowing him to sense the slightest disturbances in his surroundings. It was a 5-colored blade, vanished from the real world, transforming from substance to void, drifting on the wind like mist in a dream. Yet, in an instant, it could silently slay even the most prodigious talents of the 4th realm. This was terrifying. With such a technique, this person could become the ultimate assassin. Qinming's eyes deepened as he tilted his head slightly. Instantly, the faint pain at his left temple vanished, while in the distance, a wisp of energy faltered briefly before dissipating into the frigid wind. But the next moment, a searing pain flared across Qinming's skull. Is he moving that fast? It felt almost supernatural, shifting between substance and void, teleporting in an instant. Just this, ape, technique alone could slay some powerful immortal seeds, truly terrifying. Yet Qinming had sensed the attack in advance and prepared his defenses. It felt as if a heavenly god's staff hung high above the 9 heavens, aimed directly at him, poised to strike at any moment. Qin could imagine the cataclysmic impact, a stone-shattering, earth-shaking blow, like a meteor piercing the night mist, obliterating its target on the ground. He believed his recent mastery of the Nine Heavens manual had brought him closer to spiritual clarity, sharpening his senses even further. Suddenly, he left behind an afterimage and materialized dozens of meters away. In the night sky, the weapon that had materialized from the void vanished once more. There was no doubt the ape harbored murderous intent, arriving tonight armed with a lethal weapon. Yet he held back, not out of restraint, but because Qin had preemptively neutralized his attack. Su Mohua remained unaware of the formidable presence lurking in the shadows until she witnessed Qin repeated teleportations, realizing a battle beyond her comprehension had already begun. "Do you still wish to test me?" Qin asked. "I attained a sudden insight while cultivating the Tao tonight and sought a fellow practitioner with whom to spar and verify my understanding. Would you be willing to oblige?" A male voice drifted in on the biting wind. "If you intend to draw your blade, why waste words? Come," Qin challenged. The opponent's murderous intent and uninvited arrival left no room for peaceful resolution. Had Qin extraordinary mental sensitivity not alerted him, he would have already suffered a fatal blow. In the distance, a figure materialized, a white-robed youth whose pristine garments billowed gracefully in the night wind, amidst swirling snowflakes. His refined features and handsome bearing radiated elegance as he strode through the darkness. This unfamiliar youth possessed long, sword-like eyebrows that nearly reached his temples. Golden cross-shaped patterns shimmered in his eyes, their gaze as sharp as lightning. Qin sensed the youth's danger, though it was less intense than before. "An ape?" he asked, studying the newcomer. The white-robed youth offered no direct answer, merely smiling faintly. "My hands itch tonight," he said. "I came uninvited. Please forgive my intrusion." Qin believed this person shared the same origin as the Xuanhuan he had slain on the Divine Fall Plains, a powerful psychic connection. "Which one are you?" Wu Yaozu materialized silently, cutting off his retreat. Meanwhile, Shang Yu stood atop the courtyard wall, gripping his demon-subduing pestle, poised to unleash his most potent strike at any moment. Clearly, both men had sensed the extraordinary nature and immense power of this newcomer. "I'll handle this myself," Qin declared, determined to face this ape tonight. "Please," the unfamiliar youth, known as Ape, spoke up. He darted forward, quickly leaving Earth City behind. At that moment, a crowd followed close behind. Some were visitors from other realms, but the majority were a group of young prodigies hailing from the heavens. Qin footsteps were steady as he calmly emerged from the city gates, his gaze sweeping over everyone present. Tomorrow, Su Mohua was scheduled to engage in a duel, a clash between geniuses. Yet tonight, challengers had arrived to intercept Qin. If both master and disciple were to be severely wounded, it was an outcome that many would likely relish. "Little master," Su Mohua called out, her voice laced with worry. She could sense the tense atmosphere. This situation had arisen because of her, and these people had come prepared to make her and her master suffer a crushing defeat. "Watch closely," Qin replied. "I shall set an example for you." His words were calm yet forceful, his confident demeanor instantly inspiring many acquaintances. Su Mohua fell silent, the furrow in her brow smoothing away. Brother Qin possesses a certain temperament. A true presence. Bai Meng muttered to himself. He actually wanted to say that Brother Qin had a villainous aura, one that felt familiar and vaguely recognizable. Having become fast friends with Qin, he couldn't bring himself to voice such thoughts. "What arrogance!" someone whispered. A group of young men and women from the heavens frowned as they watched the youth in the arena. They naturally hoped for Qin crushing defeat tonight. A violent storm erupted, shaking the snow-covered ground until it cracked open. Sand and stones flew wildly as snowflakes surged skyward, instantly shrouding the world in a blinding white haze. The battle between the young powerhouses had begun. Without exchanging a word, the two clashed the moment they met outside Earth City. Xuanhuan, ape clad in pristine white robes that billowed in the wind, possessed a divine grace like polished jade. This exceptionally handsome youth's eyes blazed with golden light, his entire being wreathed in immortal mist. With a clang, a five-colored sword materialized in his hand, a weapon of unparalleled sharpness, like a heavenly sword capable of cleaving the cosmos itself, imbued with profound Tao resonance. As it slashed through the void, the very fabric of reality seemed to tremble. The sword's aura tore through the earth, leaving black fissures half a meter wide, scarring the frozen ground. Many onlookers were struck with horror and recoiled in retreat. The mere intangible sword's intent had frozen the earth solid. What kind of pressure must the person at the center of the attack be enduring? Qin Ming's entire body erupted in golden radiance, blazing brilliantly in the night. Terrifying power surged within him as he met the attack barehanded, channeling the Vajra scripture. His right palm, forged like molten gold, glowed with fiery light as it slammed into the five-colored sword. The clash of metal echoed with a piercing clang. In the next instant, Qin Ming formed the Vajra seal. His black hair danced wildly as immortal Dao patterns materialized in his eyes, transforming him into a wrathful Vajra reborn. Every movement radiated divine energy. In that instant, he exchanged dozens, even hundreds, of blows with the ape's five-colored sword, all barehanded. Qin Ming's flesh began to transmute into a golden body. Each strike of the Vajra seal resonated with the deep, resonant tones of a great bell, as golden radiance surged and flooded the battlefield. The five-colored sword in the ape's hand blazed with intensified light, its pure yang energy erupting violently. For a moment, it seemed to cleave the night sky, as if tearing through the clouds with its fierce, terrifying sword aura. Hiss! Someone gasped, finally realizing that the five-colored sword wasn't a physical weapon at all. It was a manifestation of consciousness spiritual light, formed from the condensed pure yang energies of the five elements. Many eyes shifted, awed by the white-robed youth's formidable power. He had mastered at least 5 supreme scriptures, each culminating in a pure yang seed, which he had fused into a single entity to form the pure yang five-colored sword. Simultaneously, a radiant great sun materialized behind the ape's head, illuminating all directions like a resurrected divine being descending upon the mortal realm. The divine halo behind his head radiated countless strands of divine radiance, empowering the five-colored sword with seemingly indestructible force. As the halo expanded, it grew larger, threatening to crush its opponent. Clang! Qin Ming materialized the Vajra in his hand and clashed it against the five-colored sword. Primordial chaos force erupted like thunder, unleashing its full fury against this formidable foe. Heavenly light enveloped Qin Ming from head to toe, as if he were bathed in immortal flames, radiating a sacred and transcendent aura. The Vajra projected an image of a temple, accompanied by the resonant tolling of bells, creating a miraculous scene, a millennia-old monastery transforming into tangible form through heavenly light, charging forward with unstoppable momentum. On the five-colored sword, multiple pure yang powers intertwined, coalescing into 5 colossal dragons that swept across the battlefield. Amidst shattering sounds, dragon roars, and the surging chaos of pure yang power and heavenly light, their first life or death clash shook the very foundations of the frozen earth, causing it to crack and sink. The night mist that had shrouded the sky dissipated under the force of their collision. Jung! The five-colored sword shattered, and the Vajra shattered, leaving both combatants empty-handed. The ape, clad in snow-white robes, expanded the great sun divine wheel behind his head, radiating a terrifyingly intense pure yang power that surged toward Qin Ming like a raging tidal wave. He seemed innately invincible, protected by the pure yang great sun, with such terrifying power boiling within him. Qin Ming's eyes deepened. He raised his left hand, unleashing an endless torrent of frigid energy. With a series of cracking sounds, he seemed poised to freeze 100 miles around him. The ground beneath his feet and the void before him were rapidly covered in snow and ice. Qin Ming was activating the Heluo scripture, attempting to unleash extreme cold within the domain of water. The white-robed youth was briefly encased in Zon ice, but it shattered in an instant, unleashing a searing wave of pure yang power. In the distance, Helian Zhaoyu's pupils contracted as he realized Qin Ming was revealing his ultimate technique. On the battlefield, Qin Ming channeled the primordial chaos force to manifest both extreme yin and extreme yang energies. Yin mist billowed to his left, while raging flames erupted to his right. Then, the Gonggong spiritual aspect and the Zhurong golden body materialized. Helian Zhaoyu stared in disbelief. He, who walked the path of the esoteric sect and nurtured 2 great deities within his inner world, was now witnessing his humiliating opponent manifest them through heavenly light. He was stunned. Could the legendary primordial chaos force truly assimilate anything? Had this opponent stolen his techniques, and was he now mimicking the very inner vision that birthed divine beings? Behind Qin Ming, the Gonggong spiritual aspect and Zhurong golden body merged perfectly, forming a yin-yang diagram that pulsed with divine energy. The diagram spun rapidly before shooting forth, hurtling toward his opponent. The white-robed youth's expression flickered. His opponent had unleashed a devastating move right from the start, forcing a desperate clash. Undaunted, he summoned the divine halo behind his head, releasing the pure yang great sun. With a thunderous roar, the sun collided with the yin-yang divine spirit. Beneath the long night, the clash resembled two comets tearing through the sky, colliding in a cataclysmic explosion. The entire area was bathed in blinding light, as bright as day. Spectators recoiled in terror, even those who had retreated to a safe distance were forced to stumble back several more steps. The group of youths who had descended from the heavens was visibly shaken. This battle far exceeded their expectations. Qinming was far stronger than they had imagined. The pure yang great sun shattered, and the yin-yang divine spirit shattered into fragments. Both young powerhouses locked eyes, neither willing to yield. Ape's pupils blazed with cruciform divine patterns. Around him, fragments of the shattered great sun surged upward, each transforming into weapons, blades, spears, swords, halberds, each imbued with the purest pure yang power. These weapons rained down on Qinming in an overwhelming barrage. The void crackled, and the night mist shattered. The sheer density of pure yang weaponry pouring down sent shivers down the spines of onlookers. Anyone caught in that storm would tremble in fear. Even before the weapons drew near, the terrifying killing intent and surging pure yang power shattered the ground. The overwhelming force pressed down, making distant observers feel suffocated. A spiritual domain materialized around Qinming, blocking all the weapons. Channeling the primordial chaos force through the earth magnetism scripture, he unleashed a devastating fist strike. The heavens and earth erupted with a thunderous roar, deafening all present. Unlike his previous strikes, this fist light manifested as countless thread-like strands that wove through the void. These were magnetic lines piercing through space, merging with the heavenly light to form a dense, inescapable net that pierced every weapon materialized from pure yang power. Qinming channeled the primordial chaos force into his earth magnetism fist. The boundless threads permeated every corner, engulfing the white-robed youth and piercing through him. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Yet, the white-robed youth's robes fluttered, a flash of light, and the ape reappeared unharmed in the distance. That's the ripple of the calamity evasion immortal scripture. Someone whispered, recognizing the ape's mystical technique. It can evade all calamities, rendering the body impervious to any attack. Long ago, on the Divine Fall Plains, Xuanhuan had used a similar calamity evasion technique, but it was far inferior to the white-robed youth's mastery. Ape strode forward, his feet crunching across the frozen earth riddled with dark fissures. He faced the swirling snow, his entire body radiating divine ripples as he activated the calamity evasion immortal scripture. Simultaneously, a fiery furnace materialized between his brows, hovering above his head. Flames blazed skyward, seemingly an application of the heart-subduing scripture. Qinming's expression grew solemn. This opponent was formidable, a rare match for him. Now, wielding two legendary scriptural meanings of his sect, he would either remain dormant or unleash a devastating attack. With a clang, a sword materialized in Qinming's right hand. The snow-bright, dazzling weapon was forged from primordial chaos heavenly light. The sword grew increasingly radiant, resembling a materialized sun in the shape of a longsword, radiating terrifying waves of energy. Yuan Ape sought to evade all calamity, to remain utterly impervious to any and all forms of attack. Qinming, however, embraced the Tao's simplicity, channeling all his power into a single strike. He unleashed the heaven-severing sword intent. Crucially, the heavenly light within his body was being drawn into his right hand, concentrating into a single, devastating strike, a profound application of mystical technique. This was the God-slaying whip, a technique created by Tang Jin's teacher, the founding ancestor Li Wuwei, who cultivated both yin and yang paths. It drew 78% of one's heavenly light, concentrating it into a whip held in the hand. This ultimate strike aimed to obliterate even divine beings. Qinming adapted this technique, drawing all his heavenly light to manifest the heaven-severing sword, intending to cleave through all obstacles, crushing everything in its path, and shattering any resistance. While others might worry about their physical bodies being drained by such a technique, Qinming possessed the body refinement harmonization scripture, granting him an exceptionally robust and resilient physique. This gave him absolute confidence. The white-robed youth bathed in immortal light, his body rippling with energy that seemed capable of extinguishing all laws. He stood as if in a pure land, a towering, flame-wreathed cauldron roaring above him like a caged Xuanhuan, or perhaps like a furnace refining a great medicine. Now, he erupted, determined to slay his opponent. Qin Ming, clad in black, wielded a longsword that blazed with brilliance, like a chosen one rising above the night mist-shrouded horizon, illuminating all directions. With a whoosh, he swung the sword, unleashing heaven-severing sword intent, a sword intent said to be capable of cleaving even the heavens themselves. The sword's radiance soared skyward, as if connecting to the 9 heavens above. Splat! A crimson spray of blood erupted across the scene. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, Night Without Borders. Chapter 400, Slaying Gods with the Physical Body. Author, Chen Dong. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. A long night, frozen earth, and snow particles danced in the frigid wind. The white-robed youth retreated rapidly, blood gushing from his shoulder where a deep, bone-revealing wound threatened to sever his arm. Worse still, the heavenly sword's light, which seemed to pierce the 9 heavens, blazed brighter than lightning. It poured down from the night sky, its overwhelming sword intent still lingering. Ape's entire right arm hung limp, yet he moved like a phantom through the night mist, his calamity-avoiding ripples, said to extinguish all laws, surging frantically to engulf the encroaching blade light. Tiān, the ape, Xuanhuan is a type of spiritual entity separated from the main consciousness. Over time, it can develop its own independent consciousness. This process is also known as the heart ape refinement medicine. The sole purpose of creating a Xuanhuan, or ape, is to eventually refine it into medicine, allowing the main consciousness to achieve a breakthrough in cultivation once the Xuanhuan has grown sufficiently powerful. Clang! Qin Ming sheathed his sword, pausing his attack. There were traces of blood on his chest as well, accompanied by the scorched marks of a burn. At the last moment, the pure yang treasure furnace, hovering above the white-robed youth's head, had crashed down like a meteor, piercing through the body refinement and Dao harmonization runes protecting Qin Ming's body and inflicting the wound. Qin Ming had always sensed the white-robed youth's danger. This bloody exchange confirmed his opponent's extraordinary prowess. He had been confident that his earlier strike could slay even a heaven-blessed prodigy in the 4th realm. Yet the white-robed youth had not only withstood the blow but also launched an efficient counterattack. 3rd realm perfection, Qin Ming murmured, frowning. Ape wasn't in the 4th realm, which made his strength all the more terrifying. By now, Qin Ming had rarely encountered worthy opponents in the 3rd realm. Yet this adversary was able to trade blows with him evenly, making him a true anomaly. The white-robed youth frowned deeply. In his eyes, this opponent was the abnormal one, a deviant, far surpassing ordinary standards. Despite being at a lower cultivation realm, he had failed to subdue him immediately. Since childhood, the white-robed youth had consistently outperformed his peers, dominating his region. He had never tasted defeat until tonight, when he was actually being pushed back by an opponent of lower cultivation. Tonight, he hadn't come for a mere exchange of techniques, he had come to slay his enemy. Yet he himself had suffered significant injuries. Half his body was stained crimson with blood, but the calamity evasion immortal scripture proved its divine nature. Gentle, rippling energy enveloped his form, and his severed arm reattached itself. Many onlookers gasped in astonishment. The true scripture lived up to its legend, granting its practitioners immunity to all techniques and allowing rapid recovery from injuries. In a life or death battle, such a skill was akin to stepping 1 foot into the realm of innate invincibility. The 2 warriors took deep breaths, their gazes locking once more. Only the howling wind remained in the desolate landscape. The group of youths watching from above wore solemn expressions, the earlier chatter had fallen silent. Su Mohua's delicate brows relaxed. She had complete faith in her little master. Visible ripples expanded outward from the white-robed youth's body. He was manifesting the spiritual domain using his pure yang consciousness spiritual light, and not just one, but multiple domains layered upon each other in this space. Having thoroughly studied rare and precious scriptures, he now summoned the Sumeru domain, accompanied by the heavenly demon force domain, their layers upon layers creating a terrifying spectacle. Bai Meng's gaze sharpened instantly. He muttered to himself, this brat. Could he be the same small-nosed, small-eared kid who nearly killed me back then? Within the spiritual domain, one white-robed youth after another materialized. He was clearly employing techniques from the heart subduing scripture, which originated from the 4-page jade tome, also known as the subduing immortals scripture. Qin Ming, equally proficient in this technique, recognized this as another wondrous application of its transformative power. He unleashed his own spiritual domain, evolving it toward the legendary, immortal domain, enhanced by the mental illusion domain. A dense fog swirled, interwoven with intricate immortal runes. Moreover, black and white particles surged from his body, flowing into and infusing his spiritual domain. Everyone present was momentarily stunned. Whenever he struck, he rarely repeated a technique. Just how vast was his mastery of combat techniques? Kill. Slay. The two extraordinary youths launched their attacks once more, throwing themselves into the battle with all their strength. Their spiritual domains clashed head-on, a collision so violent it seemed as if the night sky itself were collapsing. Brilliant runes ignited and burned, transforming the night mist into fiery light. The Sumeru domain and immortal domain rose and fell like colossal tidal waves, shattering the very landscape around them. The frozen earth cracked open and caved in, while the night sky blazed with light. The two youths rode the wind, engaging in a fierce, bloody battle high above, resembling two young heavenly gods who had descended to the mortal realm to wage war. Moving with lightning speed, they plunged from the night sky to the ground, then surged up to distant mountain peaks. The deafening clashes caused massive sections of mountain cliffs to collapse. Qinming channeled the primordial chaos force to activate the black and white scripture. With each punch and palm strike from his left and right hands, he unleashed torrents of black-white particles, their destructive power immense. Amidst the thudding sounds, countless tiny wounds appeared on the white-robed youth's body, pierced by streams of extreme yin and extreme yang particles, inflicting severe injuries. Yet, at the critical moment, his calamity evasion immortal scripture activated once more, allowing him to rapidly recover. Conversely, when he attempted to use techniques from the subduing immortal scripture, he found himself restrained, as Qinming precisely countered his 1,000 transformations, with calculated precision. In the next instant, Qinming transformed into a black hole, frantically devouring his opponent's essence qi and spirit, drawing upon pure yang power as he activated the wither and flourish scripture. With a single thought, one of withering and flourishing, he could drain his adversary while nourishing his own body. Herein lay the domineering might of this scripture. Above the white-robed youth's head, the lid of the pure yang treasure furnace cracked open, unleashing an endless torrent of scorching flames that engulfed the area, seeking to purify his opponent. Both combatants had truly unleashed their fury, recklessly displaying every lethal technique at their disposal. Qinming executed the golden crow sword-bearing stance, nearly cleaving open his opponent's chest as blood splattered across the snow. He then unleashed the Sun Immortal Sword technique, conjuring a tempest of sword qi. Golden sword light swept across the snowy battlefield, leaving onlookers trembling in fear. Qinming treated his trump cards from various scriptures as ordinary techniques, stringing them together seamlessly. The white-robed youth refused to be outdone. He layered 5 pure yang powers, forming a treasure ship beneath his feet. Wielding a pure yang halberd, he charged forward with overwhelming force. The two figures clashed amidst pure yang power and primordial chaos heavenly light, their battle a whirlwind of blade flashes, sword shadows, dragon roars, and tiger howls, each unleashing a relentless barrage of techniques. The white-robed youth tensed. Even his evasion of calamity aura dimmed, unable to extinguish the strange phenomenon now manifesting around his opponent. Qinming, his body stained with blood, fought with burning intensity. He channeled the primordial chaos force to its peak, merging the black and white scripture with the yin-yang sacred killing aura, finally manifesting the true Taiji diagram. He added the finishing touch to the yin-yang diagram, causing the yin and yang sacred demonic essences to flow in perfect harmony. He also unleashed the golden crow illuminating the night diagram and the great thunder cicada. Boom! The canopy of night seemed to have been pierced through. The treasure furnace above the white-robed youth's head was now riddled with dents, on the verge of being pierced through. Yet, 5 great suns materialized around him, their combined yang energy radiating terrifying power. Even so, he barely managed to withstand Qinming's attack. He was sent flying backward, his entire body drenched in blood from the blinding heavenly light. Suppress! Enraged, the white-robed youth uttered a sharp command. With a thunderous roar, the heavens and earth seemed to collapse as a heavy scepter crashed down. This metal scepter, which had been hovering in the sky, was originally intended to be used at a critical moment to crush his opponent into a bloody pulp. But now, uncertain of his opponent's true capabilities and fearing he might not survive long enough to seize the perfect opportunity, he unleashed it prematurely. The void twisted as blinding flames scorched the sky, like a meteor hurtling down. Qinming sensed the danger in advance and dodged, but even so, the shockwave sent him flying. At the same moment, the white-robed youth summoned his pitted and scarred pure yang treasure furnace, fully activating it. An overwhelmingly dense torrent of pure yang power poured forth. His aura surged violently, as if his strength had been amplified beyond its peak. Both combatants had been growing weary, but now the white-robed youth moved with renewed vigor, even surpassing his peak condition. His pure yang power intensified. 5 blazing suns stacked around him, radiating murderous intent as he advanced step by step toward his opponent. The frozen earth cracked beneath his feet, and the very void trembled. Qinming frowned. He had already expended considerable energy, initially hoping to secure victory through skillful techniques. Now, his opponent sought to overwhelm him with surging pure yang power. Unless he retreated, he would have to endure the onslaught head-on. He had considered unleashing all his sacred demonic essence to manifest the miraculous scene of the 8 sages descending, but ultimately abandoned the idea, deciding instead to invoke his fundamental scripture. Channeling the primordial chaos force, he manipulated all laws, like the sun rising anew from darkness. This trump card carried both advantages and risks. If it struck its target, the devastation would be catastrophic, crushing all resistance. But if it missed, it would squander a massive amount of heavenly light. It had been a long time since he had last employed this particular technique. Today, however, he had finally been pushed to this extreme. Is that the true essence of the primordial chaos force? Count them. How many divine rings are surrounding him? How many scriptural meanings has he fused together? The spectators' hearts pounded with awe. In truth, Qinming had already concealed some of his divine rings, otherwise, the spectacle would have been even more dazzling. Each divine ring represented a distinct martial technique. The sheer density of them sent chills down everyone's spines. Lost in wonder, they murmured, he's still in the 3rd realm, yet he's already mastered so many heavenly light forces. Isn't he afraid of reaching the end of the silk book technique prematurely, causing his flesh and spirit to explode? At that moment, the white-robed youth's pure yang treasure furnace shattered first. The 5 blazing suns surrounding him were pierced through one after another, and the terrifying primordial chaos heavenly light tore through all his defenses. Even the calamity-avoiding immortal radiance couldn't extinguish that heavenly light. His body was riddled with holes, many parts completely transparent. The injuries were beyond repair, his bones and organs torn to shreds. Qinming spoke, your subduing immortal scripture isn't perfected, is it? You haven't reached perfection with your calamity evasion immortal scripture either. He stepped forward, his entire body bathed in brilliant heavenly light. His formidable energy was indestructible, distorting the very fabric of space, and even the long night was tinged with divine radiance. The white-robed youth coughed up a mouthful of blood. In his final moment, a beam of light suddenly erupted from the crown of his head, his pure yang consciousness was preparing to make its escape. Many had already sensed that the two harbored an old grudge. Tonight wasn't a mere sparring match, it was a fight to the death. This was now undeniable. Qinming's eyes deepened. From within his physical body, the primordial chaos heavenly light, fused with his consciousness, surged outward. His spiritual journey carried him through the void, instantly piercing the clouds to pursue his opponent. However, back upon the frozen earth, the battered body of the youth in white, whose eyes had begun to dim, suddenly flared with a divine radiance. Emanating a chilling aura, he lunged with lightning speed toward Qinming, who stood just before him. His right hand slashed down like a sword, aiming to cleave his opponent in two. Simultaneously, his pure yang consciousness, like a rainbow of light, transformed into a peal of thunder, striking out in tandem to obliterate this terrifying anomaly. A collective gasp of shock rippled through the crowd. Holy hell! That ruthless bastard plays dirty! Bai Meng exclaimed, his eyes wide with disbelief. In his mind, the white-robed youth had already been marked as one of his suspected assailants. Su Mohua's face drained of color as she lunged forward, but it was too late. Many held their breath. At the critical moment, the white-robed youth had suddenly launched this desperate attack, aiming to destroy Qinming's physical body. For someone in the 3rd realm, this meant severing their path to advancement. Without heavenly materials and earthly treasures to reconstruct his body, even if Qinming's consciousness survived, it would gradually wither and die. Perhaps only Wu Yaozu and Shang Yiwu remained calm, knowing the full extent of their brother's capabilities. The white-robed youth had been concealing most of his pure yang consciousness within his body, and now he unleashed it in a sudden, violent attack. Bang! But Qin Ming's right hand seized the youth's wrist, and with a sickening crack, he snapped it in two. The youth's pupils constricted. Then, he felt his entire arm detonate, dissolving into a cloud of bloody mist. To outside observers, it appeared that Qin Ming had not even utilized his primordial chaos force. Mysterious runes flickered across his skin, intertwining, glowing, and vanishing in an instant, yet they left him as overwhelmingly powerful as ever, no weaker than heavenly light. Most astonishingly, Qin Ming shattered the pure yang consciousness spark unleashed by the white-robed youth with a single punch. Upon his fist, those mysterious, intricate patterns flashed into existence for but a fleeting instant. The white-clad youth's pure yang consciousness disintegrated, he let out a piercing shriek of agony, suffering unimaginable pain as he desperately attempted to fragment his consciousness and flee the scene. Qin Ming's physical body moved with the speed of a phantom or a deity, striking in rapid succession. He used his bare flesh to cleave through the youth's pure yang consciousness, simultaneously pulverizing his already battered body. This is our esoteric sect's body refinement in Tao unification scripture. He's actually mastered it to such a profound level. The esoteric sect members finally recognized the technique Qin Ming was using. Legend had it that this incomplete true scripture, if cultivated to its highest levels, could allow one to slay gods with their physical body. So it's true. Qin Ming is actually our secret sect's divine seed. The white-clad youth was utterly obliterated by Qin Ming's bare-handed attack, his very being, from spirit to flesh, disintegrated into nothingness. Subduing a mortal's scripture. Damn it! In his final moments, he spat out these words with bitter resentment, as if carrying an unquenchable hatred. Amidst the pitch-black clouds, Qin Ming severed the remaining fragments of the white-robed youth's pure yang consciousness before diving back into his own physical form. The area fell into deathly silence, followed by a thunderous roar as the Earth City erupted into chaos. Qin Ming carefully gathered the few shattered remains left by the white-robed youth, intending to study them thoroughly. Bai Meng leaned closer and said, "Brother Qin, your methods are truly remarkable. I suddenly feel that the distance between you and my sister might not be as vast as I imagined." Qin Ming grew wary. Had the red-robed woman, Tang Yusheng, arrived? If she were nearby, she would undoubtedly recognize him. "Master!" Su Mohua exclaimed, rushing forward with excitement. "Come, let me help you with your cultivation," Qin Ming said, taking the lead and walking back without a moment's pause. Earth City remained restless that night, filled with hushed discussions. Qin Ming temporarily blocked out the noise, ignoring the clamor of the outside world. "Do you have any recovery precious medicine?" he asked. "Yes." Su Mohua nodded vigorously, her faith in him absolute, as if he were a heavenly immortal reborn. Her eyes shone with both fervor and reverence. Qin Ming spoke again, "Go and borrow a few more from your sister." "Ah, master, have you been gravely injured?" Qin Ming shook his head. "No," he replied. "You will need them for your cultivation." Late that night, in the secluded chamber, Su Mohua's pained cries echoed through the room. Fortunately, the room was completely sealed off from the outside world, otherwise, the sounds would have easily given rise to all sorts of wild speculation. Qin Ming pressed his hand against Su Mohua's luminous forehead, using the primordial chaos heavenly light to purify her consciousness spiritual light. In the final stages of the process, the primordial chaos heavenly light surged before him like a horizontal sun, materializing into a divine furnace. Qin Ming carefully extracted a portion of Su Mohua's consciousness spiritual light and placed it into the furnace, as if refining a golden core. It hurts. The process of refining consciousness spiritual light into a golden core was excruciatingly painful. Even with Su Mohua's unwavering will, she struggled to endure it. Qin Ming spoke up. "What is this compared to true hardship? It is merely the tempering of true gold in the fires of the world. Once I began this path, I subjected my own body to this very refinement at least 100 times over." Su Mohua bit her crimson lips and nodded firmly, determined to persevere. At this stage, continuously purifying her consciousness spiritual light into pure yang form was the optimal path for her cultivation. While this method suited Qin Ming perfectly, for Su Mohua at her current stage, it felt like being tempered in hell, requiring his guidance and assistance. Fortunately, Qin Ming had thoroughly mastered the Silk Book technique, reaching a state of divine mastery. His control over the primordial chaos heavenly light was absolute, leaving no room for accidents. As shallow night descended, the fire spring within Earth City gradually brightened. Drenched in sweat, Su Mohua emerged from the secret chamber. She appeared utterly exhausted, however, after taking a brief respite and consuming a restorative elixir, her spirits were instantly revitalized, her vitality surpassing even her former peak. At dawn, she bathed, burned incense, and donned pristine robes. When she stepped out of her room, her dark hair flowed freely, her ice-like skin and jade-like bones transforming her once more into an ethereal immortal maiden. Master. She greeted Qinming with a respectful bow. Qinming nodded and replied, there is no need to be nervous. Go forth, simply perform as you normally would. Su Mohua radiated high spirits, her fair, captivating countenance was etched with an air of confidence and composure. With a radiant smile, she declared, Master has already set the perfect example before me, it is only fitting that I should follow in your footsteps. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.